after I beat you and satisfy all the Hulkamaniacs. I'm gonna get off by cranking your knob just a little beyond the breaking point.
Gonna stick you in the eye with a foreign object. Gonna poke you in the eye with a foreign object.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Blue Thunder Pod, end of year best matches of 2024 edition. Today we're going to be listing off our top 10 matches in the calendar year of 2024. Myself, your host, Billy Sullivan, and with me as always, with his own list, my dad's favorite podcast host, Frankie Ortega.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Frankie.
Very excited for this episode.
Me too. This is a wrestling nerd's dream, making lists and
That's what it's all about.
Acting like our opinions matter more than other people's opinions. Oh, actually, what I'm looking forward to here is because I know I have a couple at least, and I'm sure you're going to have a few matches that some of our listeners are not familiar with, and maybe we can give them some ideas for matches to search out that are going to be worth their time. I think that's the benefit of our list. And I should say, whenever I do a list or we do a list of best of, it's favorites. It's favorite of. Yeah. I mean, it should go without saying, like, but some people get mad when you say the best. And
yeah, we're for sure leaving out a ton of bangers just to, keep our list interesting and unique. I think that's kind of the goal for me, at least.
For sure. Yeah, like for example, when we first decided to do this, I after the first 30 minutes of me just making a list not top of head, but like using the internet and making my list that needed to be edited down was 45 matches long. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're leaving some stuff off. And some stuff probably is going to get left off that you will hear and see on a lot of other wrestling lists on YouTube and podcasts and stuff this year.
Yeah, when you first brought up the idea, like I said, I came up with a list within minutes, and then I was like, okay, now how can I make this list cooler and more?
I definitely leaned like, okay, let me push at least into the honorable mentions for sure. And let me push a couple of these matches up into that maybe are ones that people are not super familiar with, rather than just doing the rote everybody, like the Cody Roman did not make my list in any way, shape, or form. Now, that doesn't mean that wasn't one of the best matches. Not for my taste. It's, very WWE pilled in the way that was booked, but it was emotional and stuff. But like that got booted for like a CMLL match. And I think it was a CMLL TV match too, actually. Like, because one, I probably enjoyed that more, but also for our listeners to get them to be able to find stuff. And I know everything on my list is easily findable on the internet without going to any piracy sites or anything. It's you can find them. So I think the way Frankie and I were talking about it pre-show, I think the way we were going to do this is we each have a handful of honorable mentions. So I'll first toss it to Frankie. He'll talk about his honorable mentions, and we will briefly discuss those matches. And then I will do my honorable mentions, briefly discuss those, and then we'll start our top 10s going back and forth. Like I will do my 10 and Frankie will do his 10 and so on and so forth. So without further ado, in honor of the man that made his return and was spoiled for me, without further ado, Frankie, what were your honorable mentions for best match of 2024?
Yeah, so I got quite a few here. A lot of these were at some point in my top 10, and they got shuffled out, but I wouldn't be surprised if any of these make it on somebody's list. My first is Braun Breaker versus Jay on Raw. Hangman versus Swerve at All Out. I love that match. I was there live. Darby versus Osprey and Dynamite.
Yeah, that's in my list too. My honorables.
Yeah. Akira versus Drake Younger at Ruthless Pro Wrestling. This was a death match that I got to see live.
Is that the death match show that you went to relatively recently? The one you were telling me about?
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
Yeah, all right. I almost wish I could talk a little bit more about that match, just because it's definitely the best death match.
We can talk briefly, but still talk. We can still talk. Yeah,
that was an amazing death match, but it was also a really good wrestling match.
That's the best. Those are the best death matches. Yeah. That's why I love all the Hangman death match kind of things, because it's mixed in with incredible wrestling.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We've talked about it before too. Like, you want the stuff to be happening in the ring, and then some stuff on the outside or whatever is fine. Yeah. But even the weapon stuff, you want that, incorporated into the match, like actually into the match.
So the actual
but these
match,
guys fucking. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
The actual match was a 200 light bulb match. That was the main event of the night, and so was it all light tubes, or was it tubes
myriad light bulbs?
Ring? Like they rigged the ropes to have the lubes, the tubes.
Yeah.
There. So
I cannot think of the David Arquette thing whenever light tubes are introduced. It is the weapon that makes me the most nervous in deathmatch scenarios.
That match was fucking nuts. Next match is Osprey versus Fletcher at Full Gear.
Well, yeah, I will be talking about that in a little bit later too.
Yeah. Echiseto versus Zack Sabre Jr., a match you sent to me.
Is that the Echiseto versus Zack Sabre Jr. from Rev Pro?
Yeah, Rev Pro. Was that their second match?
Yes, and I have another in my honorables that I'll talk about briefly between those two dynamos.
Mm-hmm.
That match fucking kicked ass though, right?
Yeah,
I mean, we could talk about that a little bit. Those two obviously Echiseto is amongst, if not the best technical wrestler, submission specialist, tie in and out guy in either the two big Lucha Libre promotions, but also and Zack Sabre Jr. is that for New Japan and also for Great Britain, but both of those guys they're super underrated when it comes to high impact stuff. So their match was it kept you on the edge of your seat because they're exchanging all of these different move to move to move to move to counter to counter to counter to I'm in this pin now, and now it's a bridging pin, and now you're in an Indian deathlock. But then when they snap out of that, then Hechicero hits that leg drop bomb thing he does, or Zack Sabre Jr. hits one of his big elbows or kicks, and it's a great mix. I hope that we get more Hechicero in on North American TV. Not that I want to steal him from his own promotion, because he's a big star, but I just love him so much, and I'm being selfish. I want to be able to see him more, and with Penta leaving AEW, I think Hechicero could do a great job of filling that hole that Penta is leaving. Zack Sabre, I don't want him over just because New Japan they desperately cannot lose more talent.
Mm-hmm.
If they lose more talent, they're in trouble. They already are in trouble because AEW has stolen so much from them. Zack Sabre, while being one of my absolute favorite wrestlers on earth, you got to share the wealth a little bit. Let that dude stay where he's at for now, at least.
Agreed. And those two, that you said on Zack Sabre Jr. are about to have their third match too. A rubber match.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I saw that. Very exciting.
So hopefully that makes our list next year.
Your match, the match you just mentioned to our listeners, very easily Googleable. It's a Facebook video, unfortunately, and it's the screen is flipped,
Mhm.
so as to not to get a copyright. But you don't have to go anywhere sketchy. I mean, unless you consider Facebook sketchy, which I absolutely do. But better than some Russian hacker site.
Mhm. No, I got two more. Takeshita versus Osprey at Revolution.
Ooh, we'll
And
talk
my
about that a little later
final
too.
one is Kushida versus Vikingo versus Sabin at Hard to Kill.
Ooh, that was a badass match. I didn't even think of that one. I don't think I had that on my top 45, and I absolutely should have, because it's better than a lot of the matches that I had. So that's your honorable mentions.
Yep.
All right, on to mine. And this, just before I get going here, it was very, very difficult. Like, and these honorable mentions, by the way, are not in any order whatsoever. I didn't put these matches in descending or ascending order, at least for the honorables. But like, there are 4 or 5 matches on my honorable mentions list that like I had clicked back into my top 10 and then back out and then back in and then back out multiple times. It was a real banger of a year for pro wrestling.
Oh yeah.
My favorite WWE match in many years, I think, happened this year. Women's wrestling put out, especially towards the end of the year, a ton of absolute bangers. Because you joined the podcast, I also you've influenced me to broaden my horizons a little bit more too. No promotion smaller than like CMLL or Rev Pro. Rev Pro is the smallest one that I'm going to talk about. But I did have more options this year because I broadened my horizons because of your influence, because you're so big into the up and comers and the indies and local, supporting local wrestling promotions.
Okay.
With that being said, my honorable mentions start with this. This was my number 10 for the entire time between when you and I first decided to do this until about 5 minutes ago. And it just got pushed out. Got pushed out 5 minutes before we started recording, I should say. It got pushed out right before we started recording. And that would be Kazuchika Okada versus Pac, AEW Dynasty. I think this is the most underrated match of the year by most pundits / talking heads / bad faith actors / YouTubers. I gave it 5 stars when we initially reviewed AEW Dynasty. But upon further viewings, it was definitely like tied for my favorite match of the night. And if you know what happened at Dynasty, it's saying an absolute lot. It was Okada's best match in AEW by about 1,000 miles. And Pac selling, he always spikes himself, and his selling is insane. He looks like a Tom and Jerry cartoon. Like Tom lands on his head and just sticks in the ground like
So good.
a lawn dart. Yeah, and I think he did that in this match better than even he normally does. He did one on the outside for Okada, and Okada. It was the first time Okada has really looked like a killer in a main event guy.
Yeah.
I have yet to watch. Full disclosure, I'll be watching it right after we're done recording here. I have yet to watch World's End. World's End? It's World's End, right? The most recent. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and I've heard that Okada shined there too, but I haven't seen it yet. So none of those matches are on this list.
Pac had an amazing year for wrestling. He's had such amazing matches that have just gone under the radar, I think.
That's 100% why I needed to put this one on there.
Yeah.
Because he does kind of fly under the radar, but every time you watch him, you're like, holy shit, this guy's right there with anybody.
Yep.
Also, Pac has been healthy this year for the first time.
Yeah.
I don't think he's had a year in this, coming up on 6 years of AEW's existence where he didn't miss a big giant chunk of time with some terrible injury. He's been available and around for most of this year. And I think that we see the fruits of that that positive thing. Hopefully he can stay healthy going forward.
Yeah.
He wrestles just such a brutal style.
Mm-hmm.
Next honorable mention, Gunther versus Sami Zayn, WWE WrestleMania XL. I am, not to throw shade right after I pick a match in my honorable mentions category, but I do think Gunther in the last year has had a little bit of a step down in ring performance. His matches don't feel like an event as much as they did. I don't know if that's to the booking or what, because he's absolutely fantastic in the ring, just generally. I was just watching a documentary about Kenta Kobashi, and I realized that Gunther is doing a Kenta Kobashi impersonation, absolutely, and that's awesome because he's like one of my favorite all time. But that being said about Gunther, this Sami Zayn match did make me feel like that.
Yeah.
It's the only WrestleMania. It was my favorite match of both nights of WrestleMania. It's the only one that made my list. A big part of that is the way I feel about Sami Zayn and the story that was being told there with his wife and family and stuff. And wife did, shout out, by the way, excellent job acting. Sometimes they bring family in and they're like Brian Pillman Jr.'s family, and they're just like, we hate you. But no, Sammy's wife looked like she was legit on the verge of tears. Yeah. And then that come up, man, it was so awesome. It was my WrestleMania match of this year. My next honorable mention, Hechicero versus Zack Sabre Jr., 2 out of 3 falls, CMLL, Sábados de Coliseo. This was a little bit more technical a match than the other one, the Rev Pro one. Rev Pro one was also on my list. I'm like, I showed that one to Frankie, so he may put that. So I'll put the other one on so people can search this out, because again, it's easy to find. And you can find even really good highlight packages of this, but it's just two technical geniuses at the height of their game.
A grappling masterpiece, probably. I haven't seen that one.
And it's and it's cool because it's a different environment, because the other one is Zack Sabre's it's Rev Pro, so UK, and this one is in CMLL.
Yeah,
it's in at Arena, Mexico. So different vibe, but amazing still. Next up, I think the only WWE TV match I have on the list at all, Ilya Dragunov versus Braun Breaker. Stupid name. WWE Monday Night Raw, June 10th of 24. It was their first match. I think these two just have absolutely the best chemistry in that whole company. Mm-hmm. It was like 10-minute match, which wonderful, because Triple H loves to book everything to take forever. And this was just hard hitting. And it felt like these guys, it felt like Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes or something, like they've been wrestling on the road together, or like Ric Flair and Roddy Piper when they were on their like 3-month, run through the Pacific Northwest or something. They've been wrestling every night. And meanwhile, I think this was the first time that they were ever in the ring together. And they had fantastic chemistry. And Ilya Dragunov, I think, is my favorite male performer. Kevin Owens is, but Ilya Dragunov, I'll say my favorite up-and-comer in WWE.
Yeah.
Braun Breaker, I love him. I think he has tons of potential, but his last name is insulting to me as a viewer. And I don't like the Goldberg thing. I think he's got a more dynamic personality than that. And I don't like the tweener thing. I think he's a great babyface. And I wish they would take the leash off and let him be himself, because once they do that, you may actually have like a Rock kind of guy, Stone Cold, that a top guy. Mm-hmm. And if you do the Goldberg thing where I'm just a badass and I might shake your hand, I might spare you, I'm not a heel or a face, that people don't get behind that as much. And Braun's a great babyface when he gets a chance, as we saw on NXT. Next up, Darby Allin versus Brody King, AEW Wrestle Dream. Another underrated AEW match for me. I think, much like I've said with a lot of these other matches. These two just have like amazing chemistry. They are buds that did tour the road together for forever, and they have a great dynamic. Brody being a big, giant, scary monster, and Darby being Darby. I think this was the first time Brody pulled out the sleeper hold off the edge of the apron thing.
Yeah.
That I can't believe nobody ever came up with before. It's such a brilliant, like, it doesn't really change anything, but the visual is so crazy. Badass. Like, I hope these two actually end up like together at some point.
Yeah.
And either a tag team or a stable or something. Next up, Will Bloody Ospreay versus Maxwell, Jacob Frieden, AEW Dynamite. I liked the Dynamite match more than the All-In match personally. This was on 7/17/24. It's Ospreay and MJF. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Next up, Will Bloody Ospreay. We're gonna be hearing a lot about him on my list. Unsurprisingly, versus Michael Oku, Rev Pro High Stakes. Michael Oku versus Will Ospreay 1 from last year is in my all-time favorite wrestling matches, probably top 25 all time. And this was Ospreay's last indie match. Like Tony Khan and a bunch of AEW people came to Rev Pro to see it because this was after the announcement that he had signed with AEW, and it was the passing of the torch. He was a heel in Rev Pro, and boy, oh boy, is he a fantastic heel. The first match, he just absolutely brutalized Oku to the point where it was kind of difficult to watch at the end. Again, Oku had his girlfriend at ringside, and then he like kind of attacked her, and it reminded me of the Red Wedding from Game of Thrones. So this was Oku's getting his comeuppance against dastardly heel Will Ospreay, the Rev Pro champ at the time.
Yeah. So
Oku, the new hero, gets to win the title as the bad guy. Hits the bricks and heads for greener pastures. But this match was insane, like 42 minutes. And I swear to God, watching it, if nobody would have told me, I would have guessed 16, 17.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. Again, I would love to see Oku in AEW, but I don't want to deplete every other company on earth.
He's doing just fine over there.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, Darby Allin versus Konosuke Takeshita, AEW Dynamite, January 3rd, 2024. Kicked off the year with a TV match that I did not think could be topped. And it was like on the third day of the year. It was January 3rd. Takeshita just tossing Darby around like a doll. Like the release Germans he was doing on the ramp, that Darby was ending up like head over heels, flopped onto his stomach. Holy shit. Absolutely insane. What a match. And I figured I'd bookend it with my last honorable mention. This one, it was a tough one not to have on the list, but Will Bloody Ospreay versus Darby Allin, AEW Dynamite, December 18th, 2024. I believe it was in your honorables too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't have to go over that one too much. But yeah, what a match. Those two, in my opinion, the two best workers, I think, currently going in pro wrestling.
Yeah. I totally understand why you would say that, but after doing this list here, I have an idea of who I think are the three best workers in AEW.
Yeah, definitely. Like mine bounces around too. And I'm sure that there's like recency bias with the Darby Ospreay thing because they just wrestled. But yeah, I'm same way. There are a few names on these lists that if you argued with me that it's not Darby, it's so and so, I'm not going to really fight you because it's just comes down to a matter of taste, and we're picking nits at that point because his people are so incredibly talented.
Yeah.
You want to get to the list proper?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Without further ado, Billy and Frankie's Top 10 Pro Wrestling Matches of 2024. Number 10 for me, Chris Statlander versus Willow Nightingale. Hardcore match, AEW All Out 2024. Simply put, it's the best hardcore match I've ever seen two women have. I've seen death matches, I guess, that are like more brutal or whatever, but this, like, performance wise, telling a story, keeping it concise but absolutely brutal and real feeling, is the best one I've ever seen. What did you think of Stat versus Willow?
I loved it. It was one of my favorite matches of that night. Right now, I'm trying to remember what match was before that, because I was like insanely impressed that they were able to follow that match.
I remember having a similar feeling, and I can't remember what.
Yeah, maybe something with Osprey. I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna, while we're talking, look it up.
Yeah, so like I didn't think that they were gonna be able to top it, and then like minutes into the match, I was like, "Holy shit!" They're going all out here.
Yeah. Willow fucking works stiffer than Hangman, I swear to God. And she never hurts anybody, really. Like, I really hope there's a title run in her future.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Looks like Young Bucks versus Claudio and Wheeler Yuta. This doesn't seem right.
Well, maybe. I mean, that match was really good too.
Oh, no. No, I'm wrong. You're right. Will Ospreay versus Pac.
Okay.
So there you go. Yeah, that would have been a tough one to follow. But like, yeah, they had the crowd from like bell rings. Mm-hmm. People are into it. But people love both of these. I mean, Willow is over. She is Dusty.
Yeah.
Like bulletproof.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think she needs a short title run, because of my general theory about babyface champs. I want it to be as short as possible. A heel should almost always have the belt, but I want her to get the moment, get the accolade in 2025. She really, really deserved it.
Mm-hmm.
She popped on screen. First time I ever saw her was on a Ring of Honor show. I think I was watching the Ring of Honor show because I wanted to watch the Briscoes versus FTR in their dog collar match, and Willow happened to be like debuting on that show. And as soon as she came through the curtain, I was like, oh, she has it. Like it. She's got whatever the thing is that you need.
Mm-hmm.
Big things for her. All right, who you got for number 10, Frankie?
So I got Miyu Yamashita versus Kevin Koo at Black Label Pro. I'm including
deep cut.
into the what's that?
I said, goddamn deep cut.
and this is the match that I saw live. That's why I'm including this match in my list, because it was my favorite match that I got to see live at an indie show this year. So it's my number 10. This was just like a middle of the card match, but it stole the show that night.
What was the
intergender match?
Give it to me one more time.
Okay, this is Miyu Yamashita.
Miyu Yamashita.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm familiar. Koo. And Kevin Koo?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
So I wasn't very familiar with them either when I went to the show. But, man, they stole the show. This was an intergender match. And I'm a big fan. No, I'm a huge fan of intergender matches.
Me too.
Personally think that they're the future of pro wrestling.
Dude, I saw Sky Blue, who I think is like very young, very green, and because of that, kind of mediocre in the ring, in an intergender match against some jabroni, like an AEW jabroni, but it was on an indie. And because the dude is such a great base for her, for a 100-pound girl, she was able to do all kinds of shit that I was like, God damn, I had no idea you had that in your arsenal. I love intergender matches. I
love them. I think that they're the future of wrestling. I know it's a hard sell for people right now, but trust me, like in the future, when the main event of WrestleMania is a man versus a woman, just know you heard that first here.
Yeah. Frankie called it. But like, come on, like Bianca versus like Logan Paul or whatever, or Bianca versus Cody, you're going to tell me you don't believe that Bianca could possibly beat Cody. I mean, that's moot to me, first of all, because shut up. Who cares if it's real? Like, we believe Darby Allin is beating all these people, and the man is 120 pounds.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
a flyweight can't beat a heavyweight, no matter what, in boxing. But that's what's great about wrestling, is it doesn't have to be real. That's
Exactly.
why it's more fun than real fighting.
Yep.
Because you can, like, do stories that are not necessarily... Like, there are, women leads in kung fu movies all the time and kick the shit out of men. And nobody... Well, I'm sure some weirdo incels complain that, oh, you ladies shouldn't be able to beat a man.
Yeah.
But normal people don't complain about that. So
Right.
I don't, modern intergender matches, I think, are phenomenal, and I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be able to suspend our disbelief there either.
You know what's not believable is when they tease like a fight between a man and a woman, and let's say Rhea and Dom, right? And Dom can't get a single hit in because she can't hit Rhea. No, let's just actually do a match and do the woman as the underdog. I mean, we all love underdog stories.
That's a great example too, because if you wanted to, like, ease into it, Rhea is fucking tougher than Dom. Everybody on Earth would be like, no, she'd beat his ass.
Yeah.
And like, even if he got moves in, we're not like, oh, worried about the fair maiden. She's fucking Rhea Ripley, right? It's like, this is my reality. She's the, goth queen of pro wrestling. And she's built like a house. And Dom's a good bumper. So like, that'd be a great way to start it. And that, what sucks is that is very clearly what should be the end of that feud would be a WrestleMania match between those two. That's like it's a no brainer, but they're not going to do it because sorry, why specifically did you enjoy this match so much beyond it being an intergender match?
Well, so the match starts off pretty slow, lots of grappling, lots of holds, but it like slowly develops into like a really hard-hitting match. Like with both Kevin and Miyu like trading like super stiff blows. They're both Japanese wrestlers, so they're wrestling that style. And they just had the crowd so into it. They broke the fight into like the crowd and everything. It was a really wild fight. Was
this a Japanese promotion doing Running America, or? So
Black Label Pro is actually a promotion out of Indianapolis, I think.
I got it pulled up right now. On my other screen. Don't worry, I'm not going to space out and watch it.
Very, very small company. I don't think that they're doing shows right now either. They a couple months ago they had to cancel their last show.
That's a bummer.
So yeah, don't expect.
They made it look cool for their recording here, like the canvas and the ropes and stuff look cool, and even the venue. It's tiny, but it looks neat.
Yeah. So this match here, as far as I know, it's not the full match is not available really anywhere, but there is a really cool highlight video on YouTube with like a really badass doom metal like song in the background. So I
gotta mute it because I don't want because we're recording. But that's it says Miyu Yamashita versus Kevin Yu title match 2024 music video. So I'm sure that's what it is. Yeah. I just wanted to see what they look like. But yeah, hell yeah. So search it out. I'm sure you can find it on what's that indie streaming service that does all the million different indies, MLW matches, and indie. I think it's $10 a month, unless that went under or something. Independent Wrestling TV, IWTV. Yeah, I'm sure you can find it on IWTV. That's where I found most of my the intergender matches I was talking about too. So if the highlight reel is not enough for you, or it just wet your whistle and you want to see the whole shebang, I'm sure you can find it there.
Yeah.
Anything else about?
No. What's yours?
So my number 9 is Will Bloody Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher. AEW Full Gear. I loved the booking of this match. I knew these two could physically go and do insane stuff. More insane stuff than I expected in this match. The tombstone off the apron to the floor is the first thing that comes to mind. But I loved that Will Ospreay, big, huge, giant, most over in the company superstar, was willing to post to that move, let himself be absolutely decimated and dominated until the very end where he got pinned. It was the crux of an incredible push for a newly rebranded Kyle Fletcher, and it absolutely made him a star, made me see him as so much more of a threat and as a person that could absolutely beat anybody on the roster. You could put him in there with Kenny Omega or Darby Allin or Jon Moxley, and at this point, I would believe that he could beat any one of them. The gear helps, and the haircut helps, and the incredible attitude, the heel character that he's doing helps, but it really didn't hurt to have a guy like Will Ospreay put you over on a pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. Also, it's the best turnbuckle brainbuster I've ever seen performed. And it's probably because Will was taking it. But it seems like Fletcher's using that as one of his regular finishes now, which is insane. But I think, who did he use it against in C2? And they like fell out of the ring. It actually looked great because they kind of fell weird. Mm-hmm. But it I'm a little worried about that move, but it was a great way to finish this matchup. And Ospreay putting over his boy. I couldn't believe the way they did it. I love ballsy booking. Not being afraid to do something bold, mm-hmm. and having Will Ospreay kind of get dominated for like a good part of this match before just eating a pin, is very bold. And you know what? Didn't hurt him at all.
No, of course not.
Who you got number 9?
Well, I was gonna say.
Please do. I'm sorry.
That match, amazing match. The booking was perfect. I mean, of course you have Fletcher go over because he's been having the best momentum in the whole roster for the last quarter of the year.
Absolutely, but remember going in, we were kind of back and forth on who was going to win.
Oh, the C2? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean this match, the match that we're talking about right now.
Okay.
You and I think both thought Fletcher was going to win, but it was not for sure. But then several of the other podcasts that I listen to and stuff just picked Ospreay. Ospreay just doesn't lose, so he's not going to lose to Fletcher. Yeah. And it was that's it. So a lot of people believed that there was no chance. Mm-hmm. But like you said, it was the right booking call.
Yeah.
And the way that they did it, Jesus.
I also love when somebody has an amazing match and you can clearly remember their gear.
Oh yeah.
Or both guys' gear. So when you can paint a picture that way too, on top of it being an amazing match, that's just like the cherry on top.
Hell yeah. I wonder if we remember the gear because the match was great, or if we remember the gear just because the gear was great.
Yeah.
Or like I have very vivid images of certain matches in my head where I can see the gear that they're wearing. My number 1, 1-1, which is the only match on my list that didn't change from when I initially wrote it. It stayed at that spot. But I can tell you exactly what those guys looked like in that match. But I don't know if it was because of the match or because of the gear.
Yeah.
But that I agree with you. It adds a little extra something when you're looking back, upon rewatches.
My number 9 match was Hijo del Vikingo versus Mike Bailey for the X Division Championship at Bound for Glory.
Hell yeah!
That was This is a match I think that might have flown under the radar for a lot of people.
I mean, it's TNA.
Yeah.
They have a very they have consistent number of viewers, but their ceiling's pretty low.
Yeah.
But they've been kicking ass this year as far as putting on shows. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's fucking Vikingo.
Yeah. So this was the first match on the card. So trying to remember how the rest of the card went, but I mean, I want to say this probably stole the show that night.
I think it's the only match I watched from the show.
Yeah,
because I had to see that one.
Yeah.
I wasn't all that interested in, or I had something else to watch or something, but I was like, well, I want to see this.
Yeah.
Even though Mike Bailey and his bare feet is weirdly sexual to me, but still, he's incredible.
So two of the most impressive move sets in all of wrestling, in my opinion. These two guys are just
don't say
unreal.
moveset. CM Punk says you're a loser if you say moveset.
Even though like I love Vikingo and like I truly think that he's the best luchador like on the planet right now, I will admit that like he can botch a move like very often, but in this match he was pretty much flawless, and so was Bailey.
He only botches stuff because he takes bigger swings than anybody else on Earth. When you're trying to do like 970 flashes or whatever the fuck he does, you're not going to land every one of them.
Yeah,
I mean, the fact that you can hit some is it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
And when he wrestles a fully clean match, like he did against Kenny Omega last year, that's like something. That was a match I was showing people that were not wrestling fans.
Yeah.
Like, here, look what wrestling can be. And people were like, Jesus, this is what pro wrestling is these days?
Yeah.
And yeah, Vikingo is that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Both guys just bringing the very best out of each other. And so Bailey ends up retaining the title. And it ends up being a great thing because Vikingo ends up unfortunately getting injured the very next night in the Impact tapings. And then I'm not sure if you heard yesterday he got injured at Defy Wrestling.
Oh shit!
Yeah, so
is that why he's not their champ? I mean, their champ is like Gran Guerrero, CMLL, I think. It's a guy that's been like, he barely wrestles and he's been their heavyweight champ for a million years.
Yeah.
But he's definitely not like even close to their biggest star like Vikingo is. I wonder if that's why they haven't made him like the champ.
Well, he's not CMLL.
Or Triple A? Triple A?
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking of. Gran Guerrero is the champion Triple A.
Yeah.
But like Vikingo, I noticed he wasn't holding a title. And I'm like, well, how is this guy not your champ? He's like the biggest, he's the Will Ospreay of Mexico.
Yeah.
Like, but maybe that's it. Maybe the injury thing.
Mm-hmm. And he's only like 27 years old. So like, I'm hoping that he's able to develop a style that's still like super impressive, but it's not going to be like detrimental to his like career, because man, the guy's amazing. So I want him to, he can easily be signed by AEW, by WWE. You know, he could be the next Rey Mysterio.
I bet he will too. Like if you watch Will Ospreay from, 6 years ago, it was what Vikingo is now. Like it was all high spots.
Yeah.
Now, Ospreay still is the biggest risk taker and does the craziest spots. But the ones he does, they're fewer. They're way fewer than they used to be. And the ones he does, he's so precise with them, nobody ever gets hurt. And he worked on his striking game. Vikingo is so talented, then I'm sure he'll be able to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like scale the high spot stuff back by about half and just work on his ground game or his striking or whatever, make himself more well-rounded. And
his ground game is so impressive, very similar to Darby.
Yeah, for sure. Like the amateur wrestling style kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I said ground game before I said striking, because I think maybe that'll be the direction that he goes in more than like Ospreay with the striking stuff with his hook kicks and his elbows and stuff. And Vikingo, I think, would be more mat centric. But that'll be great. Like Hechicero is my favorite luchador. That dude's mat centric as fuck.
Yeah.
And he can't do the stuff that Vikingo can do. But he's a big boy though.
Yeah.
You got anything else on this one?
That's it.
So my number 8 is Chris Statlander versus Mercedes Moné, AEW Full Gear 2024.
Same here.
Oh, nice. Same number too, or
yeah.
Holy shit.
Number 8.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I figured we have repeats, but the expectation was not to be on the same goddamn number.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mercedes coming out party here. Longtime listeners will know that when Sasha Banks signed with AEW, the first thing I said was get her ass in the ring with Chris Statlander immediately. On her debut, it should be a match with Chris Statlander because it will set the tone. Because Statlander is the best woman to work with, in my opinion, in all of wrestling, as far as making her opponents not necessarily look good in the way that the wrestling community generally uses that term, like look strong. No, she brings out the best match in all of her opponents, almost always. And Mercedes is best when, like we talked about last week, doing the heel fighting from underneath thing that she has perfected, the old Ric Flair move.
Mm-hmm.
And Stat is a great opponent for that. And their personalities are polar opposites. So like, this was the Mercedes match that reminded me that I was right about Sasha Banks, and she was awesome back then too.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you think?
Yeah, I think this was Mercedes' best match to date, and the match totally made up for like the weak build-up. The build-up I had so many problems with, but then they had this match, and I was like, wow, this was my favorite women's match of the whole year, honestly.
My second favorite, and you'll see shortly. But yeah, the build sucked, but I was so fucking stoked just because they were finally doing the match that I knew would be Mercedes' launching point. That I was just stoked for that. But yeah, the build sucked. But thankfully, they are continuing this feud. I have no idea what happened last night, but they had a rematch immediately, and my hope is that they continue. Let them have an actual real feud, because the women don't usually get to do that, and these two are the best together. They're Hangman Swerve, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and in this case, it was the right call, I think, to have Mercedes go over, because as we saw now, we got the second match, and that's exactly what I wanted,
Yeah.
Maybe have Statlander go over next time. Even if she didn't go over last night, I don't know either. Do it again, and eventually have Statlander dethrone Mercedes.
Yeah, and Mercedes quietly over multiple promotions has got a little handful streak going of fucking bangers, by the way. So I think she's finally hit her groove and figured out what she needs to be, like in this world of pro wrestling and then outside the WWE bubble of pro wrestling. And it's awesome to watch.
Yeah.
Especially since she catches so much shit online. I like that she can stick it to the people that knock her for no reason. Since we both had the same number 8, I guess I will go to my number 7. Will Bloody Ospreay versus whose house? Swerve's house. Swerve Strickland, AEW Forbidden Door. My favorite Swerve Strickland match. And it was the single biggest moment for solidifying Swerve Strickland as a champion that we could see as a legitimate world champ. To have him beat Ospreay, I believe this was Ospreay's first loss, correct?
Yeah.
In AEW.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, to have him go over Ospreay clean, it was exactly what Swerve needed. I mean, he had an incredible year. He was given the ball and he absolutely ran with it. But there was a little bit of a dip right prior to this match when he was trying to be too much of a baby face. Unlike Braun Breaker, Swerve, I do think, can pull off a little tweenerness. And people are still going to go apeshit for him because he's the coolest guy in the world.
Yeah.
But Ospreay is Ospreay. And Swerve in the ring is absolutely outstanding. This was the best I've ever seen when it comes to kick-based striking and that big crack that that comes along with like the house call or the hook kick. Also, this match contained my favorite swerve stomp of all time. Swerve from the top through the announce table. And then the actual swerve stomp that he used towards the end of the match, he didn't finish with it. He finished with the JML driver. But his regular swerve stomp, Ospreay did as good a job as Kenny Omega at getting into position without looking like he's scooting his ass into position to get stomped. Yeah. So that stomp ruled too. And the crowd was just nuclear for this. It was, again, like I said, my favorite swerve match, I think, of his career.
Cool. Yeah, no, it was an amazing fucking match, and I'm going to talk about it later.
Okay. Who's your number 7?
So my number 7 is Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40. So objectively, this is the biggest WWE match and storyline of the year.
For sure. I mean, I've seen most of the lists I've seen. This has been the number 2 match on all of the lists.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, for that reason alone, it has to make it on my top 10. But I also love the build up to this, and by adding a heel Rock to the mix, I love that. And then incorporating the night 1 like ramifications and turning the match into a bloodline rules, and just adding more obstacles for Cody. It just made for like a great dramatic match.
It was an excellent WWE style match. I actually liked I agree, the build was genius, but I think I liked the build a little bit more than I liked the match itself, only because and I give him credit for being bold in a WWE way, but doing the thing they did with Seth, there was a little bit more depth to that than what they would normally do. Unfortunately, the WWE fans are not used to that like level of depth in storytelling, and I think it was lost on them. I think a lot of people were like, "Oh, he just looked like a jackass. He just came out and got his ass beat." But no, that wasn't the story they were telling. They were still telling a pretty great story. I really enjoyed it too. It was on my top 45. It's not on. Didn't make the cut for the final, but I absolutely understand why so many people have it really high on their lists.
Yeah, obviously not like a wrestling masterpiece, but like the story, it was like how kids say it was cinema.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. I have a match, a non-WWE match on my list that wasn't necessarily like the technical greatest thing ever, but other circumstances made it what it was for me. So yeah. I would say it's probably about the same thing for the Cody Roman thing. I'm wondering do you think The Rock is coming back for this year?
I think he's coming back for Netflix, right?
You think so? I mean, for WrestleMania, you think it'll be
probably not WrestleMania. I think that they're putting such an emphasis on CM Punk right now because they're trying to make the pay-per-view revolve around him. I think
it should. It should be night two main event. CM Punk versus like Roman, something like that.
Yep.
You know, if they give him night 1 main event, he's gonna fucking be unhappy about that. Like he used to bitch all the time about that, like co-main event stuff. And I'm the champ. Why you putting Cena on last? He's gonna want the end of the second night, which he should have. He's the most interesting thing in the company.
He's the biggest draw.
Yeah, but Cody and Roman did kick ass. I cannot deny that. That was your number 7, right?
Yeah.
So my number 6, Mercedes Money versus Hazuki, NJPW Strong Style Evolved. 5-star match. Best North American women's match maybe I've ever seen. The only other one that I can compare it to, as far as my own enjoyment of the match, because of this was a much better technical match, but the emotionality of the Sasha versus Bayley Brooklyn takeover, it's between those two for my favorite women's match at least in North America. I didn't think that the Sasha Bailey match couldn't even have a contender, to be honest. But these two just worked. Because it's New Japan, they were given 25 minutes, which women never get in AEW ever. And Mercedes showed here that her style of wrestling is most conducive to those main event style, like super long, drawn out, in the deep waters kind of matches.
Yeah.
And Hazuki's an absolute beast. And just kicked the shit out of Mercedes for most of the match. Mercedes bumping like crazy. The gas tank on both of these women was insane. And this was I think the best example of a match that crowd started. It was a pretty decent crowd too. I don't know where it was held, but decent sized crowd. Probably 1,500, 2,000 people. It started off with polite applause, and then every minute of the 25, 26 minutes that it went, people just were more and more like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Oh, what the fuck? Holy shit. And then by the end, everybody was in an absolute frenzy.
Was this
bunch of great near falls. No, it was not.
Okay.
I don't even know what the main event was, because I wasn't really interested. I watched, I fast forwarded to this match, watched it, and then I think I saw who was involved in the main event. Might have been like Jack Perry or something. And I was like, okay, I'm all good with this, because they're not going to top this. Yeah. As I've bitched about before, Dave Meltzer gave this like 4.5 stars, which is anybody that watches this thing, I promise you, you'll see that as lunacy. It reminded me very much of the best matches of HBK's second run. The longer Triple H booked kind of, like he seemed like there's no way he was going to be able to pull it out, after the halfway points, and also seemed like there was no way he could put away his opponent for a long time. Both women like selling the exhaustion and the pain and anguish incredibly well. It was just a great match. It was my women's match of the year. I would like to see them run it back on AEW, just because the production values are better there, and than the NJPW production value is great in Japan, but the American shows, they feel very, very indie when you're watching them, unless you're watching them live, I should say. So I'd like these two to run it back either in Japan or in AEW, just to be able to see this epic struggle with higher production quality.
I'd love that to be the main event of like a Forbidden Door.
Hell yes, yeah. I would pop and buy that pay-per-view immediately. And it's a true Forbidden Door kind of thing too. So, yeah, it was dope. Did you get a chance to watch this yet?
Not yet, no.
I'll have to find just the match to send to you, through Google something. You'll enjoy it. It rules.
Cool.
What's your number 6?
Mine is Private Party versus the Bucks for the AEW tag team titles on Dynamite.
Nice.
Both tag teams back in top form. Great story behind the match. Very high stakes with the titles on the line and the tag team careers of Private Party. I think this was my favorite tag team match of the year. One of my favorite title changes of the year. And definitely my favorite match on TV.
And also it was the first time since he got hurt that Quen looked like Quen again to me. Yeah. I was worried that that dude might have been washed. The injury might have been just too much for him to come back. Mm-hmm. But for this match, he stepped up, and he's looked good since too. But for a while, it felt like Zay was going to be, individual star, because he was just leaps and bounds ahead of Quen after the injury. But Quen really wore his working boots in this match, and I thought was kind of the star of the show. That save that he made was my favorite moment of the match.
Yep.
And it was cool seeing after 6 years of build essentially, and then being hampered by Moxley breaking Zay's hand and all that stuff, like everything.
Yeah.
The win against the Bucks on the first Dynamite. And then seeing those guys like legitimately seem emotional as they went up into the crowd holding their belts. Yeah, loved it.
Yeah, the whole second half of the match had me at the edge of my seat. All the false finishes had me fooled.
Like, I didn't believe that they were going to put Private Party. I thought the Bucks were going to win. So like every one of those false, and they're the best at the false finishes. Like they really know how to work. Those guys are geniuses, the Young Bucks. They just, the way that they lay out matches, they are better at getting me to bite on a false finish than anybody on earth.
Yeah.
And when they're really, especially when they're really motivated, and they were here. But I bet on like 3, like completely. I'm like, oh, that's it, I guess. Too bad. Yeah. Zay's going to have a nice singles career. And I love being surprised in pro wrestling.
Yeah, so when the Private Party finally won the titles, I shed a tear. You know, for me, that was one of my favorite moments of the whole year. It was like truly special.
Super emotional for sure. Yeah. Hey, like if you're gonna shed a tear over a wrestling match, they're few and far between. And that was definitely one of them. It was like the Mick winning the title, moment. I cried like a baby when Mick won the title. But that same kind of thing. These guys put in all the work, and you could see it on their faces. How much gratitude they had too. For I'm sure for the Bucks and whatever, for the fans, for all of it, and all the work and difficult times and injuries and stuff that they had been through. It was a great way to like cap it off for them. It'd be nice if they get booked on TV or a pay-per-view since then.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they have been. Was there a tag match on the pay-per-view?
No.
Maybe toss a tag title match on there. Yeah. I guess they don't really have. They have to build up a few of these newer tag teams to make them credible threats.
Yeah.
Before they do a pay-per-view. But I'm missing Private Party. Like after that match, I was like all in on Private Party. I want more of this. And I haven't seen him enough.
It hasn't been a great title reign, unfortunately. I hope they don't lose the titles without getting like a couple bangers in there.
I want a good run. Because what tag team is out there right now that is like, oh, they need to be. It's their time. They need to. So no, let them. While these other teams, like I think Cage and like Brian Cage and Lance Archer have a great chemistry, and they're building towards being a really, really good tag team together. But it's going to be a while before they get to that level. I think they will get to that level, but like 6 months or something. So don't have them beating. Have Private Party beating those kinds of teams while those teams are still developing their sense of self and sense of team. Whatever. Yeah. There's a couple of Ring of Honor tag teams that are interesting, but again, like bring them up, have Private Party get wins over them, put them over. Private Party can put over those young teams, as far as making them look good too, because they're very capable of doing that. But yeah, just get them defending the titles, or at least having non-titles or something. I want to see the belts on TV, and I want to see those guys. They're fun, and like you said. They back to their kick-ass entrance music too. So, so that's a lot of fun. My number 5, CM Pepsi Phil Punk versus Drew McIntyre. Hell in a Cell, WWE Bad Blood. My favorite WWE match in years and years.
Number 5 too.
No shit.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, video fist bump. Video fist bump. We have 2 matches at the same spot. Yeah, too sweet. Too sweet me, bro. I don't want to get a cease and desist. Too sweet me, bro. My favorite WWE match in years and years. It single-handedly gave Hell in a Cell its aura back because it had absolutely lost its aura.
Yep.
Compared to what it once was. Now, next time they do a Hell in a Cell, I'm going to be like, oh shit, shit's getting real. And I never would have felt that way before this match. I can't believe that, I mean, obviously it was, but I can't believe that the gash on that happened to Drew was hard way from that. Punk must have really just cracked him in the head with that toolbox because it was a flat side of the toolbox and he busted his head open so bad. But you know what? It added to the match.
I can't imagine they were trying to have that bloody of a match. But
but I mean, shit. That's why I loved it. I mean, not the only reason, but that added to the drama. Blood's great. Blood adds to the drama. There was like rumors and stuff, dirt sheet stuff out there that like they were 50-50 whether they were going to just stop the match, which would have fucking sucked so bad because it was the best WWE match I've seen, in forever. You could put that match on any card in any promotion, and I'm like 5 stars. Punk is a wrestling genius, and Drew McIntyre stepped up like 3 levels in this feud. I thought the feud went way too long. I was like tired of it. I was done with it. I was ready for both guys to move on. And then they had the match and I was like, oh shit, no, I was wrong. This fucking rolls. It was a perfect way to blow it off, that the blood feud, true blood feud.
I think it did,
that these two had.
Go kind of long too, but like maybe like a couple weeks leading into the pay-per-view, I knew this was going to be their best match.
When they started cutting the promos in the cage and stuff. Yeah, that was good stuff.
Yeah.
I just meant like for the last couple of months of it, I was like, okay, guys.
Yeah.
You wrestled a bunch of times. And plus their other matches were fine, but they were fine. And then all of a sudden the Hell in the Cell is like 5 stars, 5 stars. Like it's Punk really knows how to bring it when it's time to bring it.
Yeah. I think this was Punk's best performance since being back, but like that's not saying a whole lot either.
It's his best performance in WWE. I think he had a few AEW performances that I prefer, specifically MJF.
Oh yeah, no, it's back in WWE, like
back in WWE. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because he hasn't done much.
No,
he's got that triceps. It's got to get hurt every few months.
Yeah. How Punk managed to not get injured, like seriously injured in this match, is a freaking miracle.
Well, part of it was that Drew was the guy that was bumping his fucking ass off all over the place on the corner of the stairs and busting his head open and but he didn't look like weak or anything. He looked like a badass still. It's hard to look like Drew McIntyre and not look like a badass. Yeah. But yeah, no, it was great back and forth. I figured Punk was going to win the blow off match, but I wasn't 100% certain. So they gave me the 1% doubt too. It's just so superior to everything else that they put out for me. For me. Yeah. Part of that, like you said, is an accidental gusher of a wound on somebody's head that adds the drama.
Yeah, because of the blood, because of the violence, also because of the build up to the match. This is my highest rated WWE match of the year.
Yeah, me too. It's the only one on my list. And since we had the same number 5, I can't believe that. Number 4 is my personal tag team match of the year. Sting and Darby Allin versus the Young Bucks, AEW Revolution. Again, this is the in-ring stuff was good. It was fun, but it was everything else. It was the Darby Insano bump. It was Sting finishing up the greatest Legends run I think any company's ever given anybody. Mm-hmm. And the emotionality that I felt for him, like in this match, and they did a nice job because the Young Bucks at this time were really working that we're pricks, like we don't care what you like, we're going to do what we want because we're the EVP's
Yeah.
character. I thought there was a legitimate chance that they were going to go over.
Yeah.
And so did everybody else that was in the room with me. And by the end of this match, I felt like an 8-year-old watching, Hogan Warrior again, where I was like, I can't. Sting can't lose this. Sting can't lose this match. Like, I haven't felt that way about a wrestling match since I was a kid. And the Stinger did not disappoint. And then on top of it, we got the craziest bump I've seen anybody take since Mick Foley and Hell in a Cell. So,
It got people all up in arms about about Darby and like his
pearl clutchers. What the fuck do you think we're watching? This isn't figure skating. This is a simulated combat sport. Like, yeah. I don't think we should be doing unprotected chair shots to the head, but every time anybody does anything a little bit violent, AEW is going too far. Well, you didn't say that same shit about ECW way back when, and they were doing much worse stuff. New Jack was trying to fucking kill people.
Yeah.
Literally trying to kill Vic Grimes. Like, I think that's all bad faith. I think Darby.
So when it comes to that topic, one issue I was having with the way that Tony Khan was like handling damage control was basically him saying that Darby knows what he's. I'm sure. Okay, yeah, Darby knows what he's doing, but at the same time, sometimes there's no way to do certain bumps. Sometimes you just have to take a sick fucking bump.
It's not safe. It's obviously not safe. But
right. So don't lie about it.
He's signing up for it. Yeah, no. Yeah, it would be like saying that Mick Foley's telling the Cell, like, oh, he knows what he's doing. No, he doesn't. He never walked again the same the rest of his life. Like, that shit happens. Right. But I'm thankful that Darby is willing to do that for my entertainment. Yeah. Like, I love the guy because of it. I would still love him if he didn't do that shit, but like, we all know what this is. You don't have to pretend. Yeah, like, that's dumb. But that's Tony Khan and his
I think that's why
sheltered life and his Instagram bullshit. Like, but the pearl clutching over the bump itself, like, come on.
Yeah, I think that's why everyone respects Darby's like philosophy when he says that. Yeah, some of this stuff is really unsafe, but I'm trying to do my best now because I'm not looking to have like a long career.
Yeah, no, he's not the type that's
thank you for being honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say, like, there's no safe way to do that, obviously. There's no safe way for him to do the apron bump he did a couple of days ago or last week. But he is so precise in, like, his body control that he does it the safest you can do it. Like, he does hit it right in the center of the glass. So he's not hitting the chairs. He does hit the corner of the apron in a way that he's done in the past. It looks exactly the same because it's not on your spine. So, like, his talent does make it a little safer, but it's not safe. That's insane. Yeah, you can't jump 25 feet through a glass plate and it be safe. Like,
it's one thing for Tony to trust Darby, but going too far when he's saying that Darby's being safe because
no, that's bullshit. But this match, you mentioned you shed a tear. This match got me to well up, shed a tear myself.
Yeah.
Right from the start of the match, the build with Sting's two sons dressed as him from different eras, and Sting doing the Cinema Paradiso thing where he's in the movie theater, and then at the end it's showtime. And I love also after this, now I love that Darby has incorporated Sting into his whole moveset, CM Punk, and way of being and stuff. It just and to see Sting get to go out like this, when we as wrestling fans have seen so many people that we have cheered for either die young or try to get come back for a Legends run and just kind of get shit on or not be given the respect that they deserve. Seeing this done for Sting, it was moving to me. I absolutely loved it.
Not just this match, his entire retirement tour was amazing. Like that's how you do a retirement.
100%. Yeah, And it's a good advertisement for future legends if they want to go on a retirement tour.
Yeah.
I doubt many people are going to be able to do what Sting was doing in the 60s, but yeah, that's the template. That's what you do.
Yeah.
Have him undefeated the whole goddamn time. Who'd you have number 4?
So I got Konosuke Takeshita versus Mike Bailey, another Mike Bailey match.
Ooh,
Pro.
good one.
So this is another match of the year candidate that I believe not many people have gotten a chance to watch, but this was somewhat recent. So this was like post Konosuke's international title win.
Yeah, it was on my 45.
Yeah.
You really love his little bare feet, don't you?
I love
like Quentin Tarantino.
I love his style, and I love the
I do too.
Between him and Takeshita. I'm not sure if they've had a match before this, but
this is the only one I've seen.
I really wouldn't be surprised because they have great chemistry. This match was like a freaking work of art. Like as I'm saying all this, like this match sat at the very top of my list at one point, and then it just I had to bring it down to 4 just because Will Ospreay. But
fucking this year has been insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
And then the match had Mauro Renayo and Don Callis on commentary, so no one better to call such a freaking epic match.
Yeah. Ian Riccaboni called the last Rampage, and every time he does a AEW thing, I'm like, just put him on Collision. I know he does. He has parent. He likes being like a very involved parent, so he doesn't want to travel. You would have to, but he's so good. But Mauro is the other guy that I'm like, why isn't this dude just? I understand he has mental health things. I only say that because he has talked very openly about it, had done documentaries about it. Would not bring it up otherwise. But like, I understand he has mental health stuff, but like, he seems like he has it under control, medicated properly and stuff, and he just brings so much big fight feel to every match he calls.
It would be amazing if he's the play-by-play. No, because Excalibur is pretty freaking great, but I would still love to have him like for pay-per-views.
Yeah, or like put him on Collision. Shivani does play-by-play on Collision. Shivani's not a play-by-play guy.
Yeah,
like if you're gonna try to build Collision up, which they have an opportunity to because people were watching because of the C2, so now do something with it. And Ian Riccaboni be a good thing to add to that, because Tony Schiavone calling play-by-play makes it feel like WCW Saturday Night or something.
Yeah.
And Riccaboni is funny, topical. He knows his shit as far as like moves go and stuff, the ins and outs, and like they overwork Excalibur too. So
I'm not sure if he's the official one of the official commentators for Maple Leaf Pro. Maple Leaf Pro is also pretty new. I think it started like this year.
I saw, I don't even remember what it was, but I saw something that makes the name familiar to me.
I think this Maple Leaf Pro is like a rebrand of like a really old like Canadian.
Yeah.
And it was started by what's his name, the former TNA like president.
That's what I was reading about. The guy that got fired right when they were like on the upswing. Yeah. Guy that was like there from the beginning. That's why I knew the name of the promotion rather than. Is Mauro Canadian?
I don't know. Right.
To the match though, Mike Bailey, Speedball's moveset, CM Punk. Is the style he wrestles, it reminds me a lot of Swerve, not in that they do anything similarly, but that they do everything they do is different than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
The way that he like administers his kicks and martial arts kind of stuff looks different than anybody else that I've seen.
Yeah.
And it makes things super fun.
Yeah, I don't know if the rumors are true about Speedball joining AEW next year, but
he's gonna the only reason he wasn't there before. You'd love to see what?
If he does join, I would love to see this match again there.
Fuck yeah! Takeshita's always a great guy to stick in the ring with somebody you just added to the company because he's Takeshita.
Yeah.
I hope they bring in Brass Monkey if they bring in Speedball.
Yeah.
Because that weird ass entrance song fits his weird ass persona
Tony,
perfectly.
I mean, I think Tony would do that.
Yeah, I think he'll shell out for it. I think the only reason he wasn't in AEW already was he had some kind of a, I don't want to speak ill of the guy worse than it was, but there was some reason he couldn't travel like regularly.
Okay.
That was holding him back from signing with any of the big promotions.
Yeah.
But he's a good fit for AEW.
Yeah, he's had a hell of a run on TNA, but I feel like he's reached the limit there, just like Ospreay did, just like Jay White did. Like
time for the next.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Speedball and Ospreay had a banger of a match too. By the way, but hell yeah. And Kenosuke is a great guy to toss around to do the size of Speedball.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that dude was British for like 3 years, by the way, until I heard him talk. And I'm like, why do you talk like a Canadian?
Mm-hmm.
I guess I probably should have guessed it with his weirdness. You got anything else on Speedball and Soup? Speaking of Kenosuke Takeshita, my number 3 match, Will Bloody Ospreay versus Kenosuke Takeshita, AEW Revolution. This was, as much as I already knew and loved Will Ospreay, seeing him in this match as his first big match in AEW really felt like a coming out party. For Will, showing everybody like, I am on another level, bruv.
Mm-hmm.
Like really, truly. And it was a great canvas for Takeshita to be able to show what he can actually do, and how athletic he is, how fast he is for a man his size. Like, people go on and on about Braun Breaker running the ropes. I think Takeshita's faster, runs the ropes faster, and he's 4 inches taller.
Mm-hmm.
A man is a freak. Like, I think he could play defensive end in the NFL if he wanted to or something. And that is the perfect foil for a guy like Will Ospreay. I thought the strikes in this match were the best strikes I saw all year in any match. Every single one of them felt like a knockout blow. Particularly the forearm elbow thing that Takeshita nails, and the hook kick that I love so much from Ospreay. Both of those things look like they be rattling your brain, knocking teeth out. And you wouldn't think that with a Will Ospreay match being the best striking match of the year, but there wasn't a close second for me. I think Takeshita's forearm thing is the best strike anybody throws in pro wrestling, and Ospreay is one of the best as well. Yeah. And it just, I was on the edge of my seat, and until about 2 minutes into the match, at which point I stood up and was standing for the remainder. So I can't praise it any more than that, I don't think.
Yeah, great freaking call by Tony or whoever booked this match to do this match so early into Ospreay's AEW career, because, like you said, this was kind of what kickstarted his amazing run in AEW.
Yeah, absolutely. Loved having Callis on commentary here too. Really putting over that like awful looking raspberry that Ospreay got from the attempted brain buster, the top turnbuckle, the El Generico Kyle Fletcher move that kind of missed and then scratched the shit out of his back.
Yeah.
And then Don Callis saying, "Oh, I think that's his liver." Like, really, doctor? But he's great. He was great. Yeah. He brought a lot to it too. What do you got for number 3?
I got Swerve versus Ospreay for the AEW World Championship at Forbidden Door. So
nice.
At this point, both guys are, at least for me, like the hottest wrestlers in the whole roster. Both are on incredible runs. Both are champions. And it all translates into the type of match that they had. And this was I struggled between these last top 3 matches. This is also like on the top of the list.
I think I had this one 7.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so I actually think that Swerve and Osprey have similar styles because they're like in this match they have such amazing like counters and reversals, and they're both such amazing strikers.
The strikes. That's where it's at, man. Like with both those guys. Every time Swerve hits a kick, it sounds like a lightning bolt cracking. And I don't know how he does it. I've slowed it down to see if he's slapping himself or whatever. I don't know how he does it, but his timing is impeccable with those strikes.
And then Swerve delivering that picture perfect stomp on Oscar's table.
Yeah.
And Osprey kicking out of the back-to-back the Swerve stomp, and then like the hyperextension of the arm, and then the what was it, like the house call.
House call, and yeah, because it's the JML that finished it.
Yeah, so like when he kicked out of that was crazy, but I still love that the match ended shortly afterwards.
Yeah, well, if you remember, he kicked out of it, but then tried to do a hidden blade, and he had nothing in him, so it just bounced, and then he slumped and like was on his knees, and Swerve was just like, "This is it." Like,
and I wish that more matches ended that way, because I'm okay with people kicking out of each other's finishers, but I think that if you kick out of somebody's finisher, it shouldn't mean that you're still in this match.
Yeah, like your health bar fills up. No, your adrenaline kicked in, you kicked out. So you got out of that, but you still just took the fucking finisher. Like,
it just means that you're still freaking a sitting duck, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
and then
any second.
Osprey did the same thing against Kyle Fletcher, as we talked about a little earlier. Like, he got hit with the thing. He didn't get pinned. He kicked out of the pin, but he then got zero offense in the rest of it, and what he tried to get in was ineffectual. It did no damage because he was too fucked up from the move. Yeah, that's the way to do it. Like, kicking out of a finisher, sure. Like,
I'm okay with like sudden like rushes where like strikes aren't affecting you or something like that, you know. But when you get hit with a finisher, don't act like you're about to come back in this match, because you
don't be the warrior. Don't kick out and then also be like fresh as a daisy all of a sudden. Right? You can like two heavyweight boxers. One gets hit right on the button, corner of the jaw, gets knocked down. If they're barely able to get up before the 10 count, they don't just then all of a sudden become rejuvenated and are fine. They're still super fucked up. Like, and that's, like, I like that. It's a different way to sell.
Yeah. So I really love the ending to this match because of that.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I mean, it was on my list as well. So, and like I said, I think it really solidified Swerve's. I think Swerve had my favorite title reign of anybody that's been AEW champion. I think he's my favorite. Same for you?
Oh yeah.
Sweet.
And I'm glad that he went over. I was a little scared that I mean, I love Osprey, but I was a little scared that he was gonna win.
Me too.
And
I didn't want Swerve to lose it.
If he was gonna lose this year, then of course let it be to Swerve. Yeah, absolutely. And Osprey now has been very generous. Like we know that about him now, but until this point he hadn't lost yet. So there was that fear in me too, and I didn't want. It wasn't time for Swerve to lose the title. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great call. My number 2, ZSJ, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Bryan Danielson, NJPW, The New Beginning. Best technical match of all time. That's it. That's all I got. It's just the best series of moves and counters I've ever seen in a match.
Yeah.
Did you see this one?
Was this their first or second?
They did one outside of New Japan. I don't know which one happened first or second. this might have been the first one. I think this was the first one. This was in New Japan, the New Beginning. And it was just, it was a marvel watching these guys. And my brain just kept going, did they memorize this shit? Did they practice? Like, how? I don't really want to know because I like the magic to be hidden from me because it's more fun that way. But, like, how the fuck? Because they did 200, 300, unique moves to one another that all were moves that came from a counter to the move that they were in at the time. Like, it was absolutely insane. I don't know, like, if it was ad-libbed, like some wrestlers talk about doing, that's even crazier. Like, how do you do that? This was a match that was would have been the most difficult for me to explain how they did it. Yeah. And it was, like I said, best straight up technical wrestling match I've ever seen. Yeah. And that's all.
I got to rewatch that because it was a long match, right?
Yeah. This was the longer one and it was the better one.
Yeah, I got to rewatch that. But I mean, I 100% believe that. I mean, it's Ospreay and Zack Sabre Jr. Of course.
Danielson.
I'm sorry?
It was Danielson and Zack Sabre.
Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr. Of course they're going to kill it.
Yeah. What do you got for number 2?
I got Ospreay in the brain, obviously. Ospreay versus Bryan at Dynasty.
Ooh, what's your number 1?
Yeah, so for me, this is the match that solidified Will Ospreay as a rightful top guy in AEW. It was like a defining moment for me. I know that he had some amazing matches before this, but up until this point, this was his biggest win, obviously.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I think this is my favorite match of all time.
Yeah.
To be honest.
I think both guys wrestled a perfect match. Like, literally the definition of being on another level, bruv. Like, this was it.
How much they trust each other. That the Busaiku knee that Ospreay took, when he was trying to hit the Oz Cutter, is the most trust I've ever seen a wrestler put in another wrestler. He didn't turn his head away slightly at all. He just did the Oz Cutter like as if I think I'm going to hit the Oz Cutter, knowing full well that Danielson was going to put a knee on the side of his head. But he trusted him enough to know that, like, he's not going to hurt me. Mm-hmm. And made it look so real and so brutal that it was like, I've never seen two wrestlers trust each other like that before.
Yeah.
And everything they did in this match was absolutely safe. But only because they are so skilled at what they do. It wouldn't be safe for anybody else, I don't think, to be doing it. Outside of maybe Kenny Omega.
Yeah. The crowd was freaking electric the whole time. It really set the tone from the very beginning.
Reminded me of Danielson and Kenny. I'm sorry, I didn't mean.
Yeah. I think that St. Louis crowd was just amazing. Like, truly appreciating the type of match that AEW gave them. Like, everyone on TV was, on that same level too.
Yeah. And how about that fucking anime ending? It was the most anime-ass shit I ever saw in my life.
Yeah.
And they're both in the corners, and I'm like, this feels like the best anime. Like,
I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that.
Nope. There was a bunch of stuff in this match that I had never seen before. But like that as a creative thing, just as an artistic visual, it was like, oh, this is dope as hell.
And it didn't happen just like out of nowhere. Like, no, like everyone was like bracing themselves for this.
Everything made sense in this match. The all the psychology, all the give and take, it all like it was in my estimation, it was a perfect match, and it might be my favorite wrestling match. Like, full stop.
Yeah. So like, this is gonna sound like a negative thing, but I promise you it's not, because I don't have a single negative thing to say about this match. But for me, this match could have been my number 1 at the very top of my list, had it been a bigger stage and like just higher stakes. But I totally get that this was like simply a dream match. and of course I accept it for what it is. You know, that's just the only reason why it wasn't my number one.
And that's a reasonable stance to take. Is like, there's not a title on the line or whatever. It's not at the biggest show of the year. Yeah, so like I understand that. I understand how that could flavor it for any wrestling fan. For me, it was like, and I feel that way too. Generally, the pomp and circumstance of it does elevate most matches. For me, this match transcended it. Like any other match, it would have damaged a little bit. It would have taken a little bit away. Mm-hmm. But these two guys were so good that for me, I didn't like. It could have been in an empty arena, and I would have been like 10 stars. But like, yeah, no, that's a reasonable reason to not have it as your number one. Yeah. Speaking of my number one match of the year, can you guess what it is?
I think so.
Will Bloody Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson, AEW Dynasty. Not much more to say since we just talked about it at length. Maybe my favorite match I've ever watched.
Yeah.
I can't say that definitively. I don't know if I'll ever be able to say that definitively. There's like 10 matches that I have a place in my heart, and any one of them on any given day could be my favorite match of all time. But this is in that rotation, and it's about as high an honor as I can give to a pro wrestling match.
Yeah. And like we talked about it, the ending was amazing. Like, of course, Will Ospreay had to like literally kill Bryan to win this match. And then like the finish with the Tiger Driver, like that also was the catalyst to like a few like amazing storylines that revolved around the Tiger Driver for the rest of the year.
How about that Tiger suplex off the top rope too? Yeah. I was like, there's no way they're doing an avalanche Tiger fucking suplex. Oh shit. They're the only two guys I would trust to do that, like, and not kill themselves. I remember Misawa did it like on the outside of the ring, but just on the floor level on the outside of the ring, and that was like, holy Christ, you're going to kill somebody. And then they go up to all the way to the top rope and do it, like, holy shit. But yeah, that, and then the Tiger Driver, like, it wasn't just the match, it was an angle too, and it was a story, and we got to see Danielson doing what he does better than anybody else ever has in the history of wrestling, and that's sell. Not bump necessarily. People always conflate bumping and selling. Dolph and Sasha both like better bumpers than Danielson. Danielson's the best seller I've ever seen. Because he tricks everyone into thinking he's actually hurt all the time. And that's the idea. And he did that at the end of this match too.
Yeah, so for me, a star making performance for Ospreay, like, was he a star in Japan and the UK before this? Absolutely. But for people who might have not been so familiar with him, I feel like this was the match.
Yeah, for sure. This was like it's what Swerve got out of the Ospreay match. I think Ospreay got out of this match. Has there ever been anybody overseas talent to come into a major American wrestling company and get as over as Ospreay has gotten as fast as he has gotten? It's been a year. He technically signed in 2023, but he didn't debut until February of this year. And he's their most over babyface. Like, and he has been for most of the time that he's been here. I've never seen anything like it.
I think it was the mixture of like not being able to have a mid match. And his mic skills, his presence in the ring.
Insane. It's insane that he used to be dog shit on the mic. And that is a great lesson for younger wrestlers to take, is go watch Will Ospreay earlier in his career, even 5 years ago or whatever, and watch him now. It's just like Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels in 95 was shit on the mic. And then in late 96, he was great. And that's like, you can work on that shit and make yourself elite in that regard. And that's what Ospreay absolutely has done.
I don't know if it was like bulking up that gave him that extra confidence, or putting his freaking socks over his pants. Like I don't
He he's got such a chav look. It's insane. He credits it, according to at least interviews and stuff, to him becoming more open about being autistic and a couple of other, like, I don't want to. Autism is the only one I know that he's on the spectrum. He's talked about it a bunch of times, and there's something else too, that dyslexic, something like that. And once he started talking about it, he said it gave him the confidence to speak more freely in the open, which then translated to him being able to cut more natural promos.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Dude is charismatic as hell.
Yes, he is. Yeah, I want him to be my friend. I want to have a parasocial relationship with Will Ospreay. Who you got for your number one match of the year? I'm intrigued by this.
Okay. You really don't know?
Well, I have an idea, but like, you did kick the list off with like two Japanese wrestlers that I've never heard of, which is hard to do.
I reserved my number one spot for a very obvious, like,
okay,
elite match. It's Swerve versus Bryan at All In.
Got it.
So main event of the biggest show of the year for AEW. The culmination of a great story about Bryan's potential retirement, of his legacy, of his overall ability to still perform at a top level against the most dangerous man in AEW, right?
Yeah.
And it was also the culmination of Swerve's freaking amazing title reign.
Yep.
And
the pomp and circumstance behind this one was the most they've ever had in the company, I think, because of the stage and the title and a real legitimate champ defending against like an all-time great on his way probably out, but still wrestling at a prime level. Like, yeah, shit.
And all of these stories were very much present during this match. From the very beginning, like during Bryan's final countdown entrance, like you knew this was going to be special.
I love when they pull that out.
I love that Bryan's family was sitting front row. I think that they played like a crucial part in like the actual story of the match. I love that we got to see Swerve as the heel during this match.
Swerve actually called out his kids' names, didn't he? Didn't he say like Birdie's gonna get her wish, but you're going to be in a wheelchair when you're home, whatever, like that kind of stuff?
I love
cutting promos.
See a heel Swerve. I think that a lot of the times when a wrestler is forced to become the heel just because his opponent is just that over with the crowd, it kind of puts him in a very difficult situation. But like when it comes to Swerve, we all know
he's so great at it. Yeah, I mean, the only reason he's a babyface to begin with is because he was such a great heel.
Right.
Like, and all he really did was be cool as a heel. So it was an easy thing for him to pop right back into that, I think.
Incredible
the build was
incredible match from like the very get-go, but 3/4 into the match is when it becomes like a masterpiece for me. Like when Bryan is eating like those kicks to the chest while
for sure
directly into to his family. That's one of the things I've ever seen in wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. It was like cinema. It was story as well told in a ring as you can do. Like
just like saying, I think he was saying like I love you to his family.
I love you. Yeah, and that's what he was saying when he fired up too. I love you so much. Yeah. I love you so much. Yeah. Like, it was dope as hell.
And then when he kicks out of big pressure, the whole stadium erupts.
Yeah. Well, everybody wanted it. Like everybody, just to see him holding that title before he, hung him up. Although now it sounds like he's about to start returning for his Legends contract kind of thing or whatever, his part-timer thing, which great, cool. But yeah, everybody was like, you can't have Bryan Danielson in this company without ever having him hold the world title. Yeah. And it seemed like that was like could have happened. And that was like the collective relief when he kicked out of the big pressure was, I think that's what that was. It was like, oh, he could still fucking do this. Like
I'm not gonna lie, like I love Swerve so much that at first I wanted him to win. I was rooting for him, but when Brian kicked out, I flipped.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's go, Brian.
I mean, what else can you say about a match being effective, doing what it should do, and the ring psychology on the highest level? Then I went into this match cheering for this guy, and they flipped me. They worked the match. They manipulated me emotionally to the point where they got me to do what they wanted me to do.
Yeah.
Like, that's the best. That's the best feeling, and it's the best, like, the best thing that can happen, I think, in wrestling. And it doesn't happen very often.
Right.
Like, going in, you're cheering for one. But when it does, man, it's special.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely happened here with a lot of people. I was pulling for Danielson just because of the history of it. Like, I needed him to have that title once. But like fandom, I was more of a Swerve guy at this time, and I didn't want to see him lose. But like you said, by halfway into the match, it was like, I'm all in on, no pun intended, I'm all in on Danielson here. I want him to absolutely finish this match.
Yeah.
Standing tall.
I flipped, and speaking of flipping, like I almost flipped out in a bad way when Hangman came out. I thought that he was gonna ruin the integrity of the match that we were.
Yeah.
It ended up being so fast, and he didn't actually like interfere. So
it was like a tease. Yeah, it was a tease of we're gonna fuck it up. Nah, we're not really gonna fuck it up.
Right.
But then you get the streamers, and there's what, 50,000-60,000 people there going ape shit.
Mm-hmm.
And England loves Bryan Danielson. And,
another moment where I shed a tear. Like, just props to both of these guys for putting on such a memorable title versus career match.
Hell yeah. And I forgot it was title versus career, because it was like it was career on the line from then on too. But like,
yeah,
that's one of the greatest stipulations you can put on a match as far as stakes go too. So I love stakes. I love big balls booking, and that's what they did. Yeah, I can't argue with it. And your rationale is completely understable.
Yeah, this isn't any title either. Like, this was a historic title.
Yeah,
like, word title was historic. Like, it wasn't just my favorite. Like, objectively, like, it was historic. Like, the first.
I would say, as far as AEW title changes go, this one and Hangman over Omega for me.
Yeah,
because that one had the 2-year build in their friendship, and a really well told story and stuff too. But 1 and 1A, I don't even know which one I like better. But yeah, definitely historic.
Yeah, and man, I mean, it's just Brian, Swerve, and Ospreay. Those 3 guys for our episode for Wrestler of the Year. It's just I'm still thinking about that one, because
speaking of guys, since now Frankie and I have completed our top 10 matches of 2024. In a couple of days, we are going to be recording and releasing the Blue Thunder Nods. It's our hopefully soon to be annual awards show, where we're gonna give our own personal picks for things like Wrestler of the Year, Angle of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Breakout Star, etc., etc. It's the Blue Thunder Nods. You guys know. But
I almost want to wear my Kevin Owens t-shirt tuxedo.
T-shirt tux? Maybe we should. Well, I'll text you. Maybe we should. I could do it like a cut off sleeves with a tie, and you could wear your t-shirt tux. But yeah, guys, keep an eye out for that one. That's our next show, and then after that, after the start of the new year, we'll be back to regularly scheduled, like, modern week to week programming, and get you guys our matches of the week and stuff. But I appreciate you guys. We appreciate you guys listening to this top 10 wrestling matches of 2024. And hope you tune in a couple of days when it should be dropping. We're going to record on the 1st, so dropping on the 2nd at the latest. Our Blue Thunder Nods year-end award show. Thanks for sticking with us. Hope you continue to do so, guys, because boy oh boy, do I love pro wrestling. Bye, guys.
Later, guys.
He's simply ravishing.